Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Real Reds Talk, your favourite football fan channel dedicated to Manchester United. This is your news show. And on tonight's show, we're going to discuss the return of the Super League and what effects that'll have on football. Can it really come back? We're going to dive into all the details in regards to that. More news and developments on the potential sale of Manchester United. So Jim Ratcliffe has teamed up with JP Morgan to advise on his bid for the club and potential other investors from Saudi Arabia, Qatar investment, etc. So we're going to discuss all the developments on that. And as well, Kobe Mainoo's just signed a new contract with Manchester United, as well as, Garnacho very close to signing his as well. So we're going to discuss the contract situation at the club. Sam is on the show with me today. How are you doing, Sam? Yeah, of course. Yeah, sometimes change isn't too bad. It isn't too bad. So yeah, if you're enjoying the content, be sure to let us know and make sure you subscribe to the channel, like, share, and if, like I said, if you like the content, check previous videos out. We did a video on the Qatari investment, which is a separate kind of one, but really interesting video. So make sure you go check that out and let us know what you think of that as well. But for the meantime, stick with us, and we're going to go through the Super League, the new Super League proposal right now. So yes, I'm the destination, the destruction of football, should I say? A league without competitions, a disaster for the football pyramid, a greedy, scandalous proposal was the first initial one that came out just over 18 months, I think it was, first initial proposal to the Super League. It's back now in a different format, kind of lingering about like a bad smell that you just don't want. How do you feel about this news that's come out to light now? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, mm, yeah, yeah. Mm. Yeah, colossal difference, I was saying, sorry. Mm, yeah, mm. Well, the three main clubs that are pushing this, Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Juventus, are the main pioneers. Any guesses as to why they'd want this, Sam? Any bright red flags why Barcelona and Juventus would want this movement? No, not one. I mean, they've tried, but just can't think. No, I'm sure their accountants might have something to say about that one there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, they sold, was it 20% rights to the TV rights for the next 20 years or something, like, brought it forward. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, basically. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. But, yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Mm. And also, he doesn't like being told no, does he? Let's be honest. You remember the whole debacle with Mbappe, and then similar on our side, United fans will be familiar with Barcelona's financial records. Was the whole De Jong thing that sparked over the summer. We was constantly looking into why can't they do this? Why do they have to sell? What's going on with all the players? And just the absolute nightmare that it was. Something's going on with their financial records, and I don't know how that one John, whatever his name is, Laporte, has managed to keep them afloat. But they're still going strong at the minute, the top of the league, and we play them very shortly, don't we? So that's a topic for another day. But the Super League in general, Sam, the first time they tried to do this, the PR and communications was atrocious. There was the league was basically a closed shop, which pissed a lot of other teams off. I think it was a structure of 15 clubs involved and then 5 clubs who could qualify for it annually, but they seem to have changed that now, and apparently there'll be relegation and promotion involved. Do you think this could be something that maybe tempts other teams into it? Mm, yeah, yeah, mm, yeah. Yeah, yeah. So Sam has apparently muted himself. He's just going to look into that. But he was just discussing how other teams would, or what other teams would think about this. Because obviously there's going to be inclusion for some 15 teams, as I just said, and then 5 other teams that aren't going to 5 other teams that can be promoted into it. And the reason why the a lot of the teams rejected the idea in the first place was because it was a closed shop and they couldn't get into it. So this is what we were discussing. Sorry, Sam.
I
Continue.
think we're back now. I can see my level. It seems to be working.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the modern fan is not about that. We want competition. Like you see teams like in a minute in the Premier League, Brighton, Brentford, doing really really well in the Premier League,
Mm,
and they're not rich clubs by any means. Obviously they've got money, but they're not a Newcastle. They're not a Manchester City. They're not like on that level. But they're doing well, and that's the idea. That should be the idea of competition. That even teams that don't have that much money, if they've got the right recruitment, tactics, manager, they can still make it and they can still be a threat and do something. We all saw Leicester a couple of years ago won
yeah.
the league. So that's the idea of competition. I know it's not like that in practice most of the time, but that's the idea. And to have this closed shop where only the European elites are a part of it, it's like the billionaires club, isn't it? Where the poor people and the regular people are not allowed in because they get rid of the riffraff and all that sort of shit. It's just
Mm,
elitism and money laundering and all that sort of shite that you normally get when money's involved. And
mm.
you saw what happened. Fans protest happened across the country outside every
Quickly
club.
as well.
Yeah,
That got done.
outside. We were there. We were there. We were a part of
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
So it was soundly rejected. So I think they went, oh, they don't like this bit of it, so they've gone away. And a lot of journalists warned this will come back. This is
mm,
not going to be the last time you hear about it. It will come back around, and it has. And now they've gone, okay, they didn't like that bit, so let's take that bit out. Let's
yeah,
remove that bit, and then let's try it again. And that's what they're going to keep doing. Every time it gets rejected, they're going to tweak a little bit of it or change a little bit of it until it
yeah.
gets accepted. And that's what they're
Well,
going to keep trying to do.
it's basically just a case of rebranding the shit idea they had in the first place, isn't
Yeah.
it? That's how it is. And this is something. Obviously, I'm against it myself, but this is something that sparks a bit of a passion in you in it because I know you're against corporate greed and power and money and how these people treat other people as well. So obviously, with it being a United fan as well, how do you see it from that perspective? Because United's new owners now potentially taking over. Is there conflict with money and power involved in that if it isn't going to be a state ownership? And a lot of people want to Jim Ratcliffe. So is that going to affect the pendulum which way it swings, or just because them rules are implemented now in the Premier League handbook where they can't join other clubs? Do you think that just won't happen at all?
I don't see the Premier League clubs joining because obviously they signed up to that agreement. And just the shitstorm that it will cause, I just don't think they'll think it's worth it. Not immediately anyway. Who's to say down the line, 5 or so years down the line, things might change. United new owners, Liverpool new owners, City, don't know what state they'll be in at that point. So yeah, it's a threat that's never going to go away. But the immediate future, this thing, I don't think the Premier League clubs would be a part of it. And if they aren't, I don't see it getting off the ground because they're the ones that are going to want the eyes on it. Like apparently the Premier League makes more money from its TV and streaming rights overseas than it does in the UK.
Yeah.
And considering the price we pay for TV to watch the Premier League here is astronomical, and we don't even get every game anyway, whereas the rest of the world does. The rest of the world.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I was looking at prices around the world the other day. I think India have the cheapest, so Shreyas and Dan will probably know more about this as well. But over there, it's like I think it was like a tenner a year or something, like really, really cheap. And we pay Sky Sports, was it 30 quid a month for that? And then you don't even get every game on that. Yeah. And then BT, you have 25. To sign up for BT as well, which is 25 quid.
Yeah.
So you're spending essentially, if you're talking 50, 60 pounds, it's like 700 quid a year or more, I think.
You got Amazon on top of that, because obviously Amazon are getting some games now, so that's another 8-9 quid. So you're looking at close to 60 quid a month. And again, still not all the games. Still don't get all the games.
Yeah.
So it's just like, why are we paying an absolute shit ton of money through the arse when you don't get to watch the games anyway? Like, baffling to me.
I think it's going to get to a point with all these big companies like Sky and like BT, where they're charging that much, it just the balloon pops and something else is going to be offered, or something is going to push more where it becomes more like a streaming kind of thing, like with Netflix and things, where you just pay a set fee like £10 per month and then they do it like that. Well, maybe
that's oversaturated now. Like the Netflix bubble has popped now because people are just not, they keep increasing prices and then they're restricting everything else. So you can't password share anymore, can't share accounts. They cut loads of content that people were enjoying and then still raise the prices. So that balloon's popped, and now you've got like, God, how many streaming services have you got now? Disney, Amazon, Netflix. In America, you got Hulu, HBO Max. Like, there's just it's too many. And now you're basically doing what happened when we had sort of cable, Sky, TV. You're paying 60 odd quid a month for all these streaming services, and it's just like they're trying to pop more money, and like people are just going back towards piracy now because it's just like you can't afford, cost of living crisis, electricity bills going up, and then that on top of it, people are just like, fuck this, and just going streaming and piracy. And then there was those sort of rumors, police were going to kick people's doors down for streaming games. It's just like, come on, like, there's not enough police.
You can't blame them.
There's not enough
money.
There's not enough police to like solve murders and like attacks going on. They're not coming down to people's houses for streaming things. So it's just like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's it, innit? It always comes back to money and power, as most things does with this. But back to the Super League thing. An independent regulator is supposedly supposed to be implemented by the government shortly as well on this. So you think with the handbook that the Premier League have put out, the new rules where every club has signed saying they can't join other competitions, plus an independent regulator to kind of monitor these situations, there's just surely these. Well, we know no teams are going to join from England, but what benefit would it be for other, like if you get, I don't know, let's say Juventus obviously want to join it, Barca want to join it, Madrid want to join it, you get Paris Saint-Germain involved. But apart from that, like I still think the Premier League have an overriding power, don't they, with the way the football's going at the minute?
Yeah, it's not a European Super League without the Premier League teams because
it's impossible.
They hold the cards. They have, like I said, the streaming and the popularity across the planet. They're the ones that everybody wants to watch. Everybody wants to watch United, City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Newcastle are probably their presence will start to increase now. They're getting money and etc. So without the Premier League, it's not going to be a success, and I don't see it getting off the ground without us. So it's just I think it's Barcelona and Juventus trying to flex their muscles to try and get some sort of money or some sort of grab on the power. But
Yeah.
I think that's it, really. It's a stature thing more than anything. I don't think anything will come of it. And if it does, who's watching it? Like, you know what I mean?
Basically, the way I describe this now is what that Fiorentino Perez, whatever his name is, he's tried robbing a bank. He's got caught, sent back on his way, and now he's come back now with a little red scarf over his face and a shitty fucking disguise. And you're like, no, mate, it's still not happening. You're just trying to rebrand something that everybody rejected in the first place. And the fans will go against it again, won't they? You saw what happened.
Yeah, no fans accepting it. Like, it's against the idea of football. It's against the idea of competition and sport in general. Like, we all see it when somebody cheats in sport, they're vilified and they're like held up as like a horrific person. It's because you want competition to be fair, and when you do this European Super League type thing, it's no longer fair. It becomes something that only the rich and only the elites can enjoy. And football, at the end of the day, I know it's moved so far away from that now with ticket prices, TV, streaming, all that sort of stuff. But football is for the people, by the people. Like, that's the whole thing. Like, you saw during
the core values.
You saw during the pandemic, it wasn't the same, was it? Like, when there was no crowds there, just not the same.
It's not. We make football.
Yeah, teams said that. Teams will just like we're playing it and we feel like we don't want to play it because there's nobody here, and it's just. They didn't enjoy it. Nobody was into it. You saw less quality in the games, I found. Like, it wasn't the same. And like, me and you were at Old Trafford yesterday. And obviously the result didn't go our way, but the fight back and the energy and the roar of that was crowd,
from the crowd, isn't it? Yeah.
If you take that away, and it's just filled with the people who sit in the corporate boxes. And the people who like, do you know what I mean? What has it become? It's not sport anymore. It just becomes like what, polo or fucking croquet.
Well,
like...
I remember we was discussing it during the last kind of stint with the Super League when it was all, it was absolute huge news and there was uproar from loads of fans. And it was probably the first time we actually saw fans come together. We're talking like United and Leeds fans, United and Liverpool fans. All these guys who have so much history between each other came together for one thing, and that's because the game is ours. That's the whole reason for it. And I remember discussing, like, they're trying to turn it into like a franchise, weren't they? So United play Madrid in the week, then they play Barcelona, and they play, I don't know, Paris Saint-Germain for argument's sake, in LA, like in LA's fucking stadium or something, or New York. And it's just like, who the fuck?
Yeah, Dubai.
Who wants that, man? Like, nobody wants that. Apart from obviously. Yeah, exactly. Or maybe international fans might be, more for it. But ultimately, even if I was looking at, say, for example, what NFL are doing with certain teams, they have games in Wembley at times, don't they? I believe when they play the NFL. But I wouldn't want that permanently over here, just for money's sake, just so people from over here can watch it. Because initially it brought up in America. It's an American sport, so.
Well, there was the thing about the 39th game, weren't there? And they said, they're going to play the 39th game in like Miami or Dubai or something like that. It's just like, it's an English league. It needs to be played in England. Like,
I agree.
It's surreal to go, the 39th game, United versus, I don't know, Chelsea. We're going to play it in Miami.
Yeah, it just doesn't.
For what reason? Why are we playing it there? What is the reason?
No.
Like, we've got when we have finals or competitions, we've got a national stadium. We've got Wembley. We have it. We don't need to be doing this. It's just it's there. It's about elites trying to take the sport away from every other person, like they do with anything that they realize they can make money out of, or it's popular in some way. They'll just take it away from everyday people so they can exploit it, and then chuck it away when they're done with it. And that's how it is.
Yeah, like we said, from most reports from credible people, there's a slim chance to none that this is going to happen as it stands. So there's not too much worry, not as much worry as there was the first time round, because people were, including myself, were in absolute panic stations. We was protesting it. There was fans going absolutely mental. Like, it was a huge, massive kind of debacle last time.
We got a game stopped because of it.
Yeah, Liverpool. Yeah,
stopped the game. Like, that's the power of the fans. I think didn't Chelsea fans stop a game, and then like Peter Cech had to get off the bus, didn't he?
Yeah,
speak to them to get them to move. So you can't push, like, they've already pushed us to the point of like the edge where we're struggling to afford to go to games. Like, price of tickets in a minute is insane. Stream,
Yeah,
like we said, we're having to stream on sites that offer us be able to watch games that are not available on TV because we can't afford to pay for it. They've pushed the consumer and the fan to the edge, and that was the last straw. The fans were just like, nah, fuck this, absolutely fuck this. And that's what happens. So I think that they're not willing to risk that again. Not in the short term, anyway. In a couple of years, maybe they might try something, but this next one, I don't think it happens.
I really like how Germany do it. If you look at like what they do for the fans, they're really about the fans. The Dortmund, like Bayern Munich, other clubs in the Bundesliga, like the traveling to and from games is really cheap, and you get certain tickets free with that as well. Just they really buy into it, don't they? And I don't get why UK don't do a similar thing, because if anything, they make more money than anything.
It's fan owned. Like it's 51-50 in Germany, so fans own 51%.
Is that for every club?
Yeah. It's Bundesliga. Yeah. So, like, obviously, the money that comes into for the players that are bought and all that sort of stuff is by the financial backers. But in terms of decisions that are made at the club, whether they've renamed the stadium or any stuff like that, that's made by the fans. And the club can't do any of the stuff that the Glazers have tried to do to the club over the years without fan approval. I think that's the method we should follow. It'll never happen in the Premier League because there's too much money, but I'd love that to happen. But I think it's a pipe dream.
Yeah, but look, the Super League, we're part of that discussion for now because it's not as big as a worry as it was the first time, but it was definitely a topic to discuss because obviously us being passionate fans, especially of Manchester United, it's something we do not want. And we want to move forward. And speaking of moving forward, we've had some ownership updates, ownership developments, whatever you want to call it, and a few reports coming out. So I'm just going to read out a couple of the reports and then I'll get your opinions on them, Sam. So QSI, which is the Qatari state investment, I think. Sports investment in it, yeah. Qatari sports investment is fully focused on PSG and will therefore not make an offer to buy Manchester United. If Qatar were to make an offer, it would come from Qatar Investment Authority, otherwise known as QIA. Private investors linked to the Qatari royal family are considering making a bid to buy Manchester United next week. There has been interest as well from American investment groups at United, Middle East, feel like they have the financial muscle to top any offer from anybody else. And whilst a bid from Qatar has not landed yet, sources in Doha believe one could well be forthcoming before the deadline. So a lot of things going on at the minute. There was an update on Jim Ratcliffe as well, which I want to read out for you, Sam. So banks, including Goldman Sachs, are ready to back a takeover bid from Sir Jim Ratcliffe. If an offer is made, the banks will cover the value of Manchester United's existing debt, which amounts to £800 million. And a group of 5 serious bidders have emerged as the battle to buy United, basically, for the next ownership, right? So getting right down to the wire, it seems now. Bids to go in within the next, we're talking a couple of days, Sam. How do you see it playing out, do you think?
It's whoever's got the deepest pockets. That's it, isn't it, really? Because the Glazers are not going to go, oh, who's the best for the club? Who would the fans want? They don't give a shit. It's who's going to give us the most money for this club? And that's who it goes to, really. That's Glazers. The Glazers have come in, put the club in debt, spent none of their money, reaped a shit ton of profit and dividends, and they're going to walk away with a big fat sack of cash as a result of it. 4 times what it was worth, even more, I imagine, what it was worth when they bought it, and having spent nothing on it. So that's what's going to happen, I think.
Well, what Mike Keegan, he reported this morning. He said the Glazer family will probably struggle to attract their desired £6 billion for United. According to those within the process, they believe between 4.1 billion and 4.5 seems to be more realistic. Do you think, just in regards to the people that are coming in to buy the club, it's all good saying he's going to buy it, he's going to offer the most money, but do you think it's important we see a manifesto from these potential new owners to see what their actual plan is with the club?
I think it's important, and I'd love to see it, but I don't think we get to, because it's big wigs with money in a room talking that we're not a part of and we won't be a part of, so we don't get any say. We don't get to have an opinion, we get to have an opinion, but it doesn't affect the outcome because they don't care about us. Like, they never cared about us. So it's the Glazers going with whatever's going to fill their pockets the most. I would love to see one of the owners off their own back, or potential owners off their own back, come out and speak to the fans and be like, look, we're going in to buy this club. This is what we want to do. This is what we'd invest in. This is what we'd buy, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. I'd love to see that. Are we going to see it? Probably not. Probably not. But they're just going to make their bids. Whoever is the highest gets the club, and then they get to run it as they see fit. Maybe that's cynical of me. Maybe that's pessimistic. I don't know. But when it comes to that amount of money, I don't see many benevolent benefactors getting involved when it's at that amount of money. But that's my opinion.
It just baffles me because I feel like, how can you buy a club and not show your intentions of what you're going to do? Like, if it really confuses me, because the fans are really, even if I was someone bidding like Jim Ratcliffe, once the bids go in, I would put out there online through my company or through whoever it was to say, this is my 10-step plan with what I'm going to do with Manchester United in regards to the facilities, the stadium, players coming in and out, the board of directors, who we want to bring in, etc., etc. And surely that would give you more weight with the fans, right? If you was to put that out there, would that not make sense?
Yeah, but we saw what the Glazers did. They took over a club we didn't want them to take over. They bought it on debt and ran the club into the ground. All things the fans didn't want. They didn't care. Like, they don't care. Like, they just carried on, and they've done so for what, 14, 15 years now. I don't see why it would be any different with anybody else. It'd be nice to see, and I'd like to see that, but I don't see why it would be any different. And you saying, "Oh, that's what you would do," that's because you're. I'm trying to put this away. You haven't got that sort of money, for one thing, and then two.
Well, not that I know of.
And then two, if you did have that sort of money, it would corrupt you to the point of, you would get to the point of, well, why do I have to tell anybody it's my money? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's what happens when you get that amount of money. You have that mindset of like, well, it's my money. I don't have to tell anybody what I'm going to do with it. And that's the mentality you got to deal with. Like, that's why they're billionaires, because that's their mentality. They're not like, again, I refer to the everyday fan or the regular person. They're not like us. Like, they don't think like us. They don't operate like we do. They're not in touch with what goes on in our world, our struggles, struggling to pay for gas, electric, food, blah, blah. They don't have any of those struggles. They just live this land of luxury where everything's great, and they don't see any bad things going on, because they just have the money to do whatever they want. So why would they think in any capacity that they have to tell us what they're planning to do? Because there's no law to say they have to. Yeah. So
it just, I feel like even from a business side of things, even if you was to approach it like that and just say, look, I've got more of a chance of getting this club if I put that out there with the fans, because the fans will resonate it. That'll make my name louder and maybe put my name more in the mix. But maybe that wouldn't, again, like you said, wouldn't matter to the Glazers. They're just like, I don't care, whoever's going to put in the most money. That's what we want. And regardless of the backlash, because we've seen that with the Glazers before. The Super League we were just talking about, they was like fans of that. I think, I'm pretty sure Joel Glazer was the co-chairman of the Super League, wasn't it? So it's clear to see their intentions and the morals with that. And you touched on how the Glazers first bought us. Are you worried at all about US investment coming in? Because it seems to be a stigma attached to it that, oh, well, we don't want another Glazership model, which I don't think we can get anyway, because the way the league is now, you can't buy clubs on debt and etc. You can't do all that. So we're not going to get another one of them ownership models. But there is a stigma attached to it. Like, any US investments coming in is going to be shit, because look what happened with Todd Bowley, look what happened with the Glazers. But there are entities out there that own massive clubs in Europe right now and in America that are doing, significantly well and being run really well. So do you follow that stigma? Do you believe in it? Do you subscribe to that theory?
It's like I said, it depends on the company, doesn't it? It depends on who they are, the way they operate, their experience, like you said, their plan. We've seen Todd Bowley, sort of his example. He's just like, he's spending like his house is on fire. He's just like chucking money at every single issue. That's one way. You had the FSG way, who invested slowly into Liverpool, bought the right players, had good recruitment, and sort of took it carefully. I know there's AC Milan have got part of an American ownership that I think LeBron James involved with it.
Yeah, it's got a percentage, and I think Bournemouth as well is there. It's got a percentage.
Or Michael B. Jordan has got the Bournemouth one. So it all depends on how it's structured and who's operating it and who's the head of it and stuff like that. I know there's a lot of successful American businessmen and American investment who run successful American teams. Like you see the sort of reach of like teams like the LA Lakers or New York Yankees, etc. I don't know if they're owned by Americans, but I'm just sort of using it as an example of like, I don't follow American sports. Like I used to follow hockey back in the day, but if you think American sports, the first teams that come to mind are Lakers, New York Yankees. They're the sort of top teams come to mind. So that's the example of like influence and stuff like that. So it depends who they are, like what sort of plan they have, etc. It could be a disaster, or it could be something well structured and well thought out. I think a lot of fans don't really care about what or how or the operation or what's going to happen, that kind of stuff. They just care about what players are going to buy and what trophies we're going to win. That's all a lot of fans care about. So it's a weird situation, because like me and you, we care about stuff like that, and we're interested to see. Whereas I think a lot of fans across the world, and maybe in the UK, they're just like, oh, we get the Qatari people in, we'll buy Mbappe, we'll buy Neymar, and then we'll get a new stadium, and then we'll win all the title, win the Champions League or win the Premier League, and it's just, that's how they think, and it's just like it's a weird dichotomy you find yourself in, and it's just, again, I think it just comes down to how much money they slap on the table in front of the Glazers. I think that's what it comes down to.
There's two thoughts I had whilst you was mentioning the good points there that you did. One of them being United. With United, it's different. With Manchester City, they didn't have the revenue and the growth that United already have, because obviously United have been successful for many, many years. So they've had to kind of force the spending and push financials up. And you saw coming out that City are earning more than Madrid and United, and you're just like, that is absolute bollocks. That would never happen. No. So something obviously was dodgy going on there, which means with United, you just have to push that organic growth, and you just have to, United make their own money. Even like you talk about stadium expenses and facilities, etc. Our match day revenue, if you increase the stadium to, let's say, 100k capacity, and you get an extra couple of million per match day, you're kind of paying off for brick and mortar in that sense anyway. So if you're just smart about it and treat United like it not how the Glazers did, like a cash cow, put enough money into it, and you put that base foundation and start winning on the pitch, you'll earn money anyway.
Well, we own all the land surrounding Old Trafford. We own that, and we've not done anything with it. We've done nothing. Like, you've seen what City have done at the Eastlands. They've got like these training facilities. They've got this like fan park. We've got all this like really cool stuff going on. We've done nothing. Like, no investment, no thing. We've been to Old Trafford many times. There's holes in the roof. There's leaks. The paint's coming off. It just looks like shit. Like, it looks awful. And when you have football clubs, are a very different entity to like a business office, for example. Like, you might be able to get away with that in a business office, but a football club is a living, breathing sort of organism almost. It's like it's a church or a place of religious significance. Like, people go, you never go to a church and it just looks like shit, do you? Like, it's always like brightly lit, the stained glass windows, everything's clean, everything's like pristine, because that's what people want when they go like to a religious experience, and that's what football is. You got to have that sort of feel to it, and the Glazers didn't see it that way. The Glazers see it as, how much money can we pump out of this thing and get it in our pockets. And if a new owner came in and they invested in the stadium, invested in training facilities, sorted the women's team out, for the love of God, like the poor girls are training in Portaloos and training and cabins and stuff at Lee Sports Village, build them their own fucking training facility in their own little stadium. Invest in scouting like Ajax do, like Brighton do. They're a fantastic scouting system they have, like, so there's no reason why we shouldn't be doing that. And then invest in the outreach to the world. We've got some of the biggest fan bases across the world. Like every major city in every major country has a United fan group. Like you can go to any city. Like I've travelled extensively, and like, you've travelled as well. If you go to a city in any country and you go, where you from? You say Manchester. What is the first thing they say?
United. Yeah.
That's it. Like you can. There's so much stuff you could do around the world and within the UK, and it would just make you money hand over fist, just consistently.
Yeah.
You'd make you so much money, but the Glazers just didn't do that. They just were like, oh, what's the least amount of money we can put in to get the most amount of money out? That's how they saw it. And that's not how a successful business works. And that's not how a successful football club works. You have to come in at a loss to spend to get the success out of it. That's how a football club is.
And the thing is with United, if you can keep them thereabouts around the Champions League, which I think they'll do anyway with Ten Hag, you're guaranteed money, because look at how much how much the Glazers are going to profit from selling United. They bought it with 200 million of their own money, but then 500 million leveraged debt, and then they're going to sell it for 6 billion or 4 to 6 billion, anywhere around that landmark. So they've timed the profit by about 30 or something ridiculous. So if you I'm not saying treat it like the Glazers and you'll get the same money. I'm just saying, like, again, with the organic growth and stuff, if you just treat it how it should be done, you're going to get your money back anyway, regardless. Probably more.
Think how much money the Glazers could have made if they'd invested in the team.
Yeah.
They could have
just didn't leave clowns in charge to invest, like with the people who was in the sporting directors.
They could have doubled the profits. Like, they could have made more money, which is so stupid, because they could have made more money, but they didn't, because they didn't want to spend. It's just fucking asinine to me.
Yeah. They literally just let it rot, aren't they? Like, quite literally in the stadium and the training ground. I mentioned the board there, Sam. Is that something, whoever it is who's coming in to look at? I am extremely passionate about this bit. I think they need to take a look at the directors. Richard Arnold, John Murtaugh, all these guys. Surely there's not a chance where someone comes in and keeps them on, is there?
No, can't be. Like, you need to do what Adam did with Maguire. Give him the P45, sign out the fucking door with the Glazers. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
And you need to get people like... I read a story today. Paul Mitchell wants to come to the Premier League.
I've seen that, yeah.
Get him. Guys like that, get him in. Guys like Dan Ashworth. Guys, whoever the recruitment team is at Brighton, just go in and be like, what money you want? Right, we'll double it. Come to United.
Yeah.
And just take them.
Will Ten Hag have a say in that, though? Because there was rumours that he didn't want Rangnick there, wasn't there? And I really love to just ask Ten Hag that and be like, can you just give me the most straight up answer you possibly can? Did you want Rangnick in, yes or no? Because if that was a board decision, I think that's one of the most stupid decisions they've ever made. But if it's the manager's decision, you can kind of like, right, well, maybe he wants to do things a certain way.
It seems like a board decision because he just consistently embarrassed them week in, week out at press conferences, didn't he? He just absolutely let it rip every single press conference. So it seems like a board decision. It's like, we can't have this guy at the club giving interviews and talking about this shit, especially if he worked his way up to in the boardroom at that level, and he starts to see all the books and all the little things that are going on. He'd just be putting that out there. So I just think they couldn't risk it having him there, so I think that's why they got rid of him. But it might have been a Ten Hag decision. If it was, then I'm sure he had his reasons for it. But
and you trust him because he's got evidence there where he's like, I can work this club and get him back to the top. Whereas the others have had no evidence for the previous 12 years that they can do anything good for the club. So also, that's where the difference is.
We've seen Ten Hag, his attention to he wants to be in control of everything. So recently he's taken over the youth team, because he wants to develop that system from the youth and then all the way into the first team. Yeah. He wants to develop it step by step. He goes out and he checks the grass length. He wants the players only eating stuff that he knows what they're eating. Like, his attention level to detail. So he knows exactly what he wants and he knows exactly how to get it. So I think it'd be really important if new owners came in, and that I think they would have a sit down with a manager anyway. But I think it'd be really important to sit down with Ten Hag and be like, look, what do you need to succeed, and who do you think the best people are to attain that, and we'll go out and get them. That's the best thing that they would be able to do. I would literally go to Brighton and just take all their recruitment staff, all their scouts, all their recruitment, just go get them.
Brighton fans like that.
Because they're so good at it. They do it
Yeah.
year in, year
Everywhere.
out. Identify, and they sell them for massive profits. So say we identify players like that Mitoma, for example. I don't know how much it cost them. It probably cost them about what?
Cheapest thought was about 3 million.
3 million. He's probably going to go either next season or maybe the season after
about
for
50.
like 50, 60 million, isn't he?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so even if we bought him 5 mil and say they turned out really, really well, but they weren't quite Man United standard, we could still then sell them for 40, 50 million. Do you know what I mean? So there's no lose there. There's no lose. Like either they turn into a superstar, we can integrate into the first team, and it didn't cost us anything, or they don't quite reach the standard, and we can still make a profit on them and sell them for 40, 50 million. There's no loss there. I don't understand why we're not doing it. We're offered Casido for 5 million. Didn't take him, and he's now being Arsenal trying to buy him for fucking 70, 80 million, whatever they were trying to buy him. Trossard went to 30. Cucurella went for 70. Ben White
50 as well.
You know what I mean? Just go take their recruitment staff because they're clearly very good at it. They know what they're talking about.
That's one thing we've been terrible at, innit? Buying and selling, we've been horrendous. And one person I bring in for that, like you mentioned, maybe someone from Brighton, like I'd agree with that. I think Edwin van der Sar would be a natural fit for me because, you know...
The Ajax, or the whole Ajax recruitment system.
Well, yeah, but like because of the previous relationship between Van der Sar and Ten Hag, that'd work. I think Ten Hag would be happy for him to come in. He's obviously an ex-legend of the club, which some people, there's the stigma again attached to them. People saying ex-player, I don't want an ex-player or whatever. If they're good at the job, I don't give a shit if they're an ex-player.
He's got experience and he's doing well at Ajax. So.
And we was talking about buying and selling, and look at the players he bought. So Ajax bought Sandro Martinez for 8 million. They sold him for 60 million. They bought Anthony in for about 10 million, I think it was, maybe even cheaper. Sold him for 80 plus million. And there's record of that. De Jong, like Donnet, you can name loads of players that they have brought in for so cheap. Yeah, cheap as fuck. And they sold on for like nearly, quadruple the profits. So he's got experience of doing that. He's got experience of running a big club in Europe, and I think if you was to put him above Edwin van der Sar, that would be a smart move for me. That'd be something I'd be looking at if I was taking over and I was the one with shitloads of money, which I don't have the money, so God knows what they're going to do. Just a last kind of bit on this new ownership thing. What's your personal preference? Have you really got into detail about this? Have you thought about it even more since we last spoken? Like, how would you go about it? Because the vibes I was getting off you was you either want the similar thing to what Bayern Munich have with the 50+1, or maybe a Jim Ratcliffe
the Bayern
ownership.
Munich, the Bayern Munich system is never going to happen.
I know that, but it's just what you want in it, like your personal preference.
I'd love that. I'd love like for example, a Jim Ratcliffe to come in and just be like, I bought the club, but I want to hand this back to the fans. And I will give up 51%. I'll let the fans buy 51% of this club so they can be a part of this and build it. I will fund it, but the fans get to have their say on how this is run. I'd love that, but it's never happening. Like, it'll never happen. But that would be my dream. I think I need to wait until official bids have gone in and we know exactly who's bidding on it, who's actually serious about buying this club, because there's a lot of talk about Qatar. I think Jim Ratcliffe's pretty serious about it. I think he's definitely involved. There's talk of a US investment group, but I've not heard much more than that, than just talk.
There's a couple, apparently.
There's a Saudi group, I believe, but again, don't know what the seriousness of that is. The Qatar thing seems to have got picking up a bit of speed and a bit of heat lately, so I want to see exactly who it is and exactly like what they want to do before I sort of make a decision on like who would be the best one for the job. Any way it goes, especially with an entire takeover with a wealthy benefactor, I'm not going to like it regardless. So I need to find the lesser of the evils of the one that I would prefer. But again, we don't get say. We don't get to pick.
Do you think maybe once the bids go in, we'll hear something as to, like we were discussing manifestos, weren't we, and things like that? Do you think we'll hear anything after the bids have officially gone in?
I think so. The deadline is next Friday, I believe.
Well, yeah. I think 14th, wasn't it? Is the deadline? I think.
Is it the 14th?
I've
seen next.
Yeah, because I remember looking at it thinking in that Valentine's Day, the 14th. Is that right? Yeah.
Possible.
So I was thinking.
So yeah, I'd like to see who's going to be involved. There's a lot of stuff about the Qataris saying that they want fan involvement. They want to back Ten Hag with a massive war chest. They want the stadium redevelopment wouldn't be a problem. that sounds like a lot of stuff they're putting out there to get the fans on their side.
I think that's a bit of lip service.
Yeah, I think that they're trying to get fans on side before the bid goes in, so then they've got that.
It's one way to do it, isn't it?
Like
saying we're going to back him.
They might actually do that if they came in. They might actually do that.
I think they would. To be fair.
But I think they're putting it out there for a reason. There's a reason why that sort of stuff is out there. I don't think it's just purely information that a journalist has found out. I think that's been deliberately put out there. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see once the bids go in. Does a Jim Radcliffe then speak to the press and outline what his plans are?
I would definitely.
Do the Qataris then come out officially once the bid goes in and goes, look, this is what we want to do. This is how we want to approach it, etc. I can't remember if when City where are they from? Are they from Dubai? Abu Dhabi. I can't remember if they came out and had a plan, or they bought the club and then they just sort of...
Well, they was the overriding ones, weren't they? Like the ones who were definitely most likely to get it, because the other ones who went into buy City wasn't like as big as it was with United, because City, when they was bought in 2009, were nowhere near the club that United was. So it was similar to when Saudi Arabia bought Newcastle. It was 300 million.
They didn't outlay what they were going to do before they bought it, did they? They didn't.
No, I don't think so. I don't know. I'd have to speak to a Newcastle fan or a City fan, but yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Obviously, next couple of weeks is when all the news will start happening, bids will start going in, etc. So yeah, the next couple of weeks will be the important bit, and then they want to wrap it up by the end of March, I believe. So it's going to happen quick, it seems. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen in the next month or so.
Yeah, my inkling is that it's going to be Qatari owners. That's what I think. That's not what I want. Just to put that out there. There's a few comments on the video I did about the Qatari investment. That's not my... I weren't saying, oh, give Ten Hag the Qatari money, give him the oil money or whatever, blah, blah. I was just saying, imagine him being backed. That's all I want. I want him to be backed. I want the club to be, treated like it should be, the biggest club in the world, and nurtured. That's what I want as a United fan. But yeah, I think Sir Jim Ratcliffe with Ineos, Qatari investment, US investment, and Saudi Arabian investment, are the main ones considered for the bid as it stands. But what do you guys want? Let me know in the comment section. Please make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe to the channel as well. And yeah, it's important to hear the opinions of other people. I'm interested to see what people think. Unless you had anything else to add on that, Sam, there's one last topic I quickly want to discuss just before we head off. And that was the new contract situation. Got announced today, Kobe Mainoo's just signed a new long-term contract. Happy with that news?
Yeah. Tied down potential players, good players. Clearly, Ten Hag rates him. He's been on the bench quite a lot recently. He's got some game time. So clearly, Ten Hag sees something. So it's always good to tie down your promising young players and keep them on sort of contracts and that. I believe Garnachos will get announced soon enough, if not within this week. We've got a bunch of players who have gone out on loan and stuff like that, so they're getting experience. But yeah, always good news to see talents like Mainoo get signed up.
Yeah, and you think Ten Hag definitely had his mitts on this one, didn't you? Because with him being promoted to the first team, he obviously sees something in him, so it's maybe an eye to watch out for the next couple of years. And Garnacho as well, hopefully to be announced soon. But moving on to more senior players, what about the De Gea Rashford situation? You worried about that at all?
I think Rashford will sign. I think he's having one of his best ever seasons at Man United, and it's thanks to Ten Hag. So I think he wants to keep working him. So I think it's just a matter of time before he signs. Obviously, we've activated that option for the year, so we've got time. But I think it's only a matter of time before he signs a new deal. I know Dalot. He's very close to signing a new deal. They're just sort of negotiating terms, so I think he'll sign a new deal. De Gea is the interesting one because if he doesn't agree to a low wage, he goes for free in the summer. So then that is then another.
It's not a year to activate. Is that gone in the summer?
They didn't activate his year. They activated Dalot's and they activated Rashford's, but they didn't want to activate De Gea's because obviously he's on. Is it 350k?
Yeah.
They didn't want to pay that out for another year. So they're trying to negotiate. They want him to stay, but they want him to stay on lower terms.
Yeah, lower wage.
So that'd be interesting. That's another headache then potentially for Ten Hag in the summer. He's then got to go out and get a first-team goalkeeper.
I've seen an interview from De Gea. I can't remember who it was with, and he was saying it's probably going to be good news in regards to my contract. Yeah. So whether he's had, I don't know, he's had a notice from the club saying like it's most likely to be done. It's just going to be announced at a certain time. I don't know.
Maybe they've had like a verbal agreement and they've gone, these are the terms, but they've just not signed anything official yet. Maybe that's what it is. I know the Garnacho one, the hold up is something to do with the image rights, I think. I think that was like the hold up on it, but the wage, the term, all that sort of stuff is all done, agreed. I think they're just trying to sort out some image rights stuff. And I think Dallows will get done soon enough as well. So yeah, I think we'll be all right on all of those things. But yeah, it is a potential headache if De Gea doesn't sign, because then not only we've got to go out and get a striker in the summer, and possibly another midfielder and a centre back, you then got to think about a goalkeeper as well, which again, not cheap in this market right now. Not cheap buy.
Especially a world class one as well. Like, and the market for goalkeepers, I mean, it's not amazing. It's like similar to the striking market where there's not options. Really obvious ones.
There's some options for goalkeepers.
There's some options, but I mean, like, I don't think there's a world class young talent out there that you can go get there. Like Donnarumma was the last one, for example, who PSG signed, who, like, keeper of the tournament. I don't think there's a caliber out there at the minute. There could be potential for one, and you don't always need that because Ten Hag, with the way he identifies talent, I trust him in scouting anyway. But I'm just saying, I don't think it's a glaring market. But we'll see what happens with the goalkeeper situation. Just the last question on this as well. Do you think the new ownership will have anything to say on these contracts? Because if you agree, well, let's say, I don't know, they agree a £300,000 a week contract with Rashford. The new owners that come in with this, are they going to have a say in that at all? They're going to be like, well, we didn't want to give him that contract. Or do you think it'll just be a case of it doesn't matter until they take over?
I think it's operation as usual until new owners walk in that door. I think they're just going to operate as usual, and I can't imagine the new owner isn't going to want Rashford as a part of the team. Do you know what I mean? Like, like he's Manchester born and bred, so that's a nice little hook for you to keep within the team, and then also the form that he's on, you want to keep that sort of caliber player around. So I can't imagine any owner having an issue with it, having him sign on to a deal. So I think it'll be just operations as usual until we officially have a new owner. Yeah, I agree with that statement. Right, guys, that concludes the breaking news show for today. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, smash a like on the video. We've got a lot of content coming your way for this week. So we've got the Leeds preview tomorrow at 7 o'clock. The second leg, if you will. Not Saturday?
Saturday. I keep saying Friday. Sorry. We've got the FPL, the return of the FPL show. Thank you for that, Sam. Return of the FPL show tomorrow. That should be me and Dan on that. So recapping the Premier League fixtures. And then we've got the second leg, if you will, of the away game to Leeds at Ellen Road on the Saturday. And then there'll be a live watch along on Sunday for the game. So make sure you join us an hour before that, and then a review after the game. So content every single day. And of course, if anything else breaks in between regards to the ownership, the Super League, whatever it is, we'll obviously go live for that as well. So turn on your notification bell so you do not miss a single thing. Sam, anything else you want to say?
Come follow us on all the socials. Links are in the description, and then the handles are just below me there. Getting some really good numbers on the Instagram now. A lot of interaction, good and bad. Whatever opinion you have, we're happy to entertain it as long as it's not abusive shit. Otherwise, you just get blocked. But if you've got a debate, you got a different opinion to us, come interact with us. Come have a comment. I try to reply to as many as possible, and I try to get to everybody. Follow the TikTok. Nick runs a TikTok. A lot of cool edits on there. Sometimes funny, sometimes serious, sometimes a bit shit stirring. So come join that conversation. And follow the Twitter. Dan and Shreyas run that, up to date, up to minute news, constantly being updated on there. So if something breaks with the Qataris or something breaks with a contract, you'll see it on there. So yeah, come follow all of those. We appreciate the support.
Yeah, cool. All right, guys. See you in the next one. Take care of yourselves. Peace.
Peace.